How to buy a home in Texas, the complete cost breakdown. Today is August 21st, 2024, and we have just passed a huge milestone in the real estate industry. There have been commission changes in the industry. That's also here on the list here, so that you can better understand what your options are for that. But I'm going to go through the complete cost breakdown. I have it broken down into two sections: the upfront cost before closing, the closing cost at the table, and what you can expect out of that. And I'm also going to go into some details about what you're getting out of each of these items, so that you can make a better prepared decision on how you're going to move forward with the home purchase. So the very first piece of upfront costs I want to talk about when you're buying a home in Texas is the earnest money deposit, and specifically San Antonio, Texas. So all these numbers are going to be relative to San Antonio market. They'll probably change a bit in different markets around Texas, but San Antonio is a good barometer for how some of those costs are going to be broken down. So earnest money deposit here in San Antonio, typically you're looking at about 1% of the sales price. So if you have a $300,000 home, you can expect that the seller would be wanting to see around $3,000 for an earnest money deposit. Now, with that being said, earnest money deposit is completely a negotiable item. You could offer him $100. It doesn't matter what the price of the house is. Okay. However, he's probably not going to take a contract at this time for $100 unless every single house on the block is for sale. Okay, so it just has to make sense in the eyes of the seller to take a low earnest money deposit amount. It also depends on what situation the seller's in. If the seller is going to have to move out of the property and to turn the property over to you, they're definitely not going to take a $100 earnest money deposit. So a 1% earnest money deposit gives them some good feeling about packing up and moving all their belongings to turn over the house to you on closing day versus $100 deposit. So think about that moving forward. How much of a deposit are you able to leave for the contract? The next item here is option fee. Here in San Antonio, when you're buying a house, the most typical option fee that you're going to see is around $10 to $20. And this is for entry-level homes, okay, or middle of the market homes. Again, another negotiable point. Sometimes going through the MLS, you may see homes where the seller wants $30 or $40 or $100, and that's on a per day basis. Typically, you're looking at about 7 to 10 days. Anything over 10 days, probably going to raise eyebrows with the seller. They're going to start asking questions. Why do you need a longer than a 10-day option period? They may want to start with 10 days, and if for some reason you have extenuating circumstances and you need to extend the option period, they may consider that. They don't have to let you do it, but up front, if there's an extenuating circumstance, they may allow it to happen, okay? Especially if something really big comes up on the inspection port. So, and I want to add, the option fee is your due diligence period. You can inspect the property anytime, okay, in the contract. A lot of people don't realize that. You can come and you can have an inspection, okay, within reason, but typically during the option period is when that inspection needs to happen, because you can cancel the contract for any reason at that time. You may have a clean inspection report, but then you come to the house at night and you realize that the neighbors are these crazy party animals that have been terrorizing the neighborhood, or there is a horrible smell from a wastewater treatment plant somewhere, and you don't want to live there anymore. If you're within your option period, you can cancel the contract at that time. Okay, after the option period is over, then you could risk losing your earnest money deposit. Okay, so keep those two in mind. Okay, very important. The next fee typically paid here in San Antonio when buying a house is the home inspection fee. Okay, you want to budget for the home inspection fee. Um, our homes in the middle of the market are around 1,800 square feet. For 1,800 square feet, you can plan on spending about $300 to $500 for that home inspection. Now, again, that is not a set price. That's just typically what I see. You could have a very expensive home inspection for $650, or you could have a cheaper home inspection for around $200. It just depends. You might have a home inspector that's running a special. Okay, so definitely something you can shop around for and get a different price for. It also will depend on how old your house is. If you're buying a 1920s house that's kind of beat up, the home inspector may want to charge you. They may have a standard upcharge for a home that's built prior to 1970 or 1980. It just depends. And also condition. If the house is really, really run down, some inspectors that hurt, they won't even do the inspection. They'll drive up and say, you know what, I can't do this inspection. It's going to be too lengthy. They don't want to get sued by you later on if the house burns down because of faulty wiring or some other nonsense that is happening in the house that they overlook. And that's just the nature of the beast. So if you're buying a rundown property, just expect you're going to pay more. Or if you're buying a much larger property, over 3,000 square feet, it's going to be more. The next item to budget for when purchasing a home is a property survey. The seller may have a survey on file, but it's always wise for you to have a budget for a survey, because if that survey is really old, and again, if you're looking at buying in an older neighborhood where the house has been there a while, the fence has been taken down, put back up, taken down, put back up, or the neighbors have been building things around you, around the property that you're buying. Even if there's an existing survey, look at how old that survey is. Or if the title company decides there have been some changes in the area, for instance, utilities have been moved from coming into the property in the back to coming into the property to the front, a new survey may be needed. Those surveys in residentials could be around $400 to $600, okay, just depending on the size of the property. If we're talking acreage, we can get into the thousands of dollars, okay, for a survey. $1,200, $800. It just depends on the size of the property. That is your home inspection if it's just raw land, okay, a survey. You want to know where the boundary lines are for your property, where the utilities are likely coming into the property, where the floodplain is. Okay, if there's a flood, we have lots of low water crossings in San Antonio. So in your survey, they may ask for a flood cert. So you want to know what's going on with that survey and where the house sits on the property. Okay, that is the main purpose of the survey. The next item to budget for here when buying a home in San Antonio, Texas, is an appraisal fee. Appraisals can fluctuate in cost greatly depending on how busy the market is, how many appraisers there are. But typically, right now, I'm seeing around $500 to $700 for an appraisal fee. They can get really expensive really quick if the appraiser calls something out that needs to be fixed before the house can be finalized. There could be an additional charge of $150 to $250 for them just to come out to the property and make sure that it's fixed. Okay, so budget for an appraisal fee. Appraiser typically works for you on your side, the transaction buyer, but the lender will order the appraisal. On a side note here, I want to mention that if you have a property that you're looking at and there is an existing home inspection, a termite inspection, an engineer's report, property survey, and the seller is providing that for you and they paid for it, or maybe even a previous buyer had these items done for the property, and you decide not to get a follow-up inspection, any of those categories, which you cannot hold their feet to the fire if something was missed. There's no insurance. All these trades, home inspectors, termite inspectors, engineers, etc., are insured. They have licenses. Your real estate agent has a license, okay? And if something is missed, if there's some negligence, anything like that, a lot of people miss out on the fact that when you hire somebody to do the work, they're insured. Okay, all your realtors, they're insured. Okay, that is one of the biggest benefits to having an agent working on your site is they're insured. They're insured by the state of Texas. If they're an LLC company, they have errors and emissions insurance. They don't want to get sued. I don't want to get sued. It sucks. Okay, so having those professionals working on your side of the transaction, you have that in the back of your mind. This person is insured. Okay, they have processes for everything to protect your interests in the transaction. And now moving on to closing costs that are typically paid at the closing table when buying a home in Texas. Now, the first item is title insurance fee. You've got to have title insurance. If you have a loan, you're going to have title insurance. Your lender is going to require it, and that fee can be anywhere from 0.5 to 1% of the purchase price. I always estimate around 1%. It's usually just under 1%, and these fees are regulated by the state of Texas. So, for example, if you have a $300,000 house, you can expect you're going to pay $1,500 to $3,000 for title insurance. Okay, it is again, it's a fee that you're going to have. It's paid typically. The seller will pay that fee. That is, if you use the title company that they're recommending. However, my recommendation, especially if you're doing a complicated transaction, maybe it's a seller financing or contract for deed, anything that is outside the norm of a regular transaction, you should, as a buyer, consider paying that fee yourself, picking your own title company, and doing that fee yourself. Okay, because it is definitely something that can ruin your day if you get a title policy that doesn't hold up in court, or you find problems later. Okay, so consider that. Title escrow fee. On top of the title insurance fee, there are typically escrow fees. There is a title company here and there that doesn't charge escrow fee, but that fee can be around $500. Okay, that's pretty common for about a $500 title escrow fee, and they charge that to both sides of the contract. Loan discount points. Now, the discount points, this is an optional thing unless you are at the max of your approval and you're looking to lower your monthly payment. For example, 1 point equals 1% and of the loan. And so, for example, a $250,000 loan, 1 point would be $2,500. Now, me personally, I would not pay loan discount points out of my pocket, because all you're really doing is paying upfront interest. Okay, so you're just taking upfront interest and you're paying that out. Now, if for some reason you've got some sort of benefit, third party or the seller is paying the discount points, yeah, go ahead, take the discount points, because that's just interest that's being paid on your behalf. But if it's coming out of your pocket, I don't know if I'm going to do discount points, because all you're doing is paying upfront interest. Another fee that you need to be ready to pay for when buying a home in Texas is loan origination fee. Just like across the country, many lenders or mortgage brokers or mortgage originators can charge a loan origination fee. And that fee is totally negotiable. Sometimes it can range anywhere from a half point to a full point on certain loans. And again, it's totally negotiable fee. And sometimes lenders will waive the fee. Other times, lenders will definitely charge the fee. If your lender is going to service your loan, there is a chance that quite possibly you're not going to pay a loan origination fee, but it is worth exploring if you need to pay a loan origination fee. All in all, closing costs can total up from anywhere from 3 to 6% of the loan amount that you're borrowing. Okay, so or the contract price. Okay, 3 to 6% is what I would budget for lender connected closing cost. HOA transfer fee, the next item here in closing costs. This fee is applicable if there is an HOA in the neighborhood, and you want to know that up front. Is there an HOA? What are the fees? That fee could be anywhere from $100 to $500 for an HOA transfer fee, and it can be a lot higher in some really posh neighborhoods and or condominium communities. These HOA transfer fees can get pretty high. On top of the HOA transfer fee, there may be a special assessment fee that goes along with it. Okay, especially if it with a condo, that it just can be really expensive getting in and out of some of these HOAs, and some of them have multiple HOAs. You might have a community where there is a regular HOA, and then there is a country club or something of that nature that has to be paid on top of it. Gated community, okay, communities within communities. So you might see multiple HOA fees there. So know about that up front before you get into a contract. The next closing cost item you're going to see here in Texas is a tax escrow, specifically if you have a mortgage. Okay, your lender does not want you to fall behind on your taxes. So if you are purchasing a home and you're putting in less than 20% equity, okay, or down payment, then your lender is going to require a tax escrow, because if you fall behind on your taxes, the state of Texas, they don't play around. They can take your home, or county, they can put a tax lien on your home, and they can foreclose on the home and wipe everything else out. So the lender does not play with tax escrows. They're going to charge you for that. So, for example, if you have a $300,000 house that you're purchasing, and your tax liability is roughly $6,000 for that house for the year, your lender is going to want around a 2-month cushion on that $6,000. Okay, so they're going to collect about $1,000 up front. The seller is going to be responsible for crediting you from January 1st of the year that you're closing in through the day of closing. So there's going to be a credit of taxes, and then you, as the buyer, are going to pay the taxes at the end of the year when the tax bill is due. Okay, so that will change depending on when you're closing. If you're closing towards the end of the year and the tax bill has already come out, and the title company knows what the tax bill is, then they will be able to collect the proper amount of taxes, or even pay the taxes at closing, and then you move on from there with a smaller cushion maybe for property taxes. The next item here in closing costs here in Texas when buying a house is property insurance. Okay, that's another item that your lender is going to require. In fact, they're going to require about a full year of property taxes plus a cushion. Okay, property insurance plus a cushion. Okay, they want to keep your escrow account full, and they want to. They're going to anticipate whether insurance rates are going to go up or possibly even down. Okay, they don't usually try to guess if they're going down and charge you less. They're going to over guess on property insurance going up, which it has been lately, so that they can get a full year. They're going to get a full year of property taxes paid at closing, and then they're going to get a little 2-month cushion or 1-month cushion at closing from you. So some property insurance up front. Okay, and then your escrow account is going to build up to your anniversary date when your insurance renews, and they can pay it out of the escrow account. Okay. The next item in closing costs here when you're buying a home in Texas is recording fees. Okay, recording fees, not that much. Okay, these are the fees that the title company passes on to you for recording your deed at the county, and that's about $130. And it really just depends on how many pieces of paper have to be recorded. Usually it's a flat $50 fee, $25 fee, plus each additional piece of paper. The county charges a fee for that. So I have here on a recent deal about $130. Tax transfers, not a thing here in the state of Texas. Texas is one of the very few states that doesn't have a transfer tax on property. So thank goodness. Okay. Now, finally, we want to talk about real estate commissions. Now, historically, the vast majority of buyer's agent commissions would come from the listing broker. Okay, listing brokers historically would have an agreement in place with the seller, and within that agreement, the seller and the listing broker, agreed that the listing broker would be able to pay a co-op fee to buyer's agents to bring their clients, and the commission's already worked out. Now that has changed. Okay, you have a lot of brokers now moving towards a non-co-op model. They're not collecting the full commission. Buyers and buyer's agents now have that option to work out the commission between themselves. Now, it doesn't mean that the seller can't contribute to the buyer's agent commission. If you're a buyer and you're worried about the settlement, I have to tell you, don't worry so much about the settlement. Get with a strong agent that understands the contracts and understands the market, and come together, have that conversation. Buyers understand that agents want the deal to go through. The biggest thing that a buyer's agent is going to do when they're speaking with a client or a potential client is size up what can the buyer do. Can the buyer finish the transaction? Can they finish the deal? There's a lot of things that have to happen, as you can see by going over this list of things that have to happen. And the last thing the buyer's agent wants to do is get into a contract with a buyer and get all the way to the finish line and not be able to get them over the finish line because of a commission. Okay, so the best thing to do is say, hey, listen, buyer's agent, I don't have, if you don't, I really want to have your expertise, but I'm worried about the commission part of it. How can we work this out? What are the options? Every broker is going to have a different way to handle this. Okay, you may have a menu of services with some brokers. Some brokers might just be a flat fee, whatever the case. But have that conversation with your broker up front and come together. That way, the broker can go out and fight and negotiate to get that fee paid for by the seller. Okay, totally doable. It's just one more thing that the agents are going to be doing for their clients and their customers now. So keep that in mind as you're shopping for homes. It's not going to be the same as it used to be. Go to Zillow and then just hit interested and have 20 agents call you. You can still do that, but there's going to be an expectation that at least a one-day agreement is going to be signed before you get in there. They're not doing it because they want to. The new rule is that the agents have to have a written agreement assigned. It's nothing personal. They're not trying to dupe anybody. That's what they have to do. Now, of course, how much that is going to cost, is going to vary from company to company. But really, if you want to make sure you're working with a strong agent, try shopping for an agent before you get into the process of actually doing that house hunting. Other than that, if you have any questions, you can always reach me here, 210-260-6617. I'll leave a comment at the end of this video, pinned comment, where you can join my once a week email list. And in that list, I put some of these same trades that I talked about in the video, and of course, some of the best deals around town in that once a week email. Until later, I'll see you later.